The Great Hall was silent. 4,000 species had gathered on Orbis Prime, the largest space station ever built. It floated in neutral space, far from any star, a monument to galactic unity. Today, that unity had one purpose: to judge humanity. Jake Harris stood alone at the center of the hall. He was 62 years old, with gray hair and calm eyes. He had served as Earth's ambassador for 15 years. He had shaken hands with creatures made of light. He had shared meals with beings who breathed methane. He had learned to smile at insults and bow at threats. Today, he did both. Around him, the representatives of the Galactic Coalition filled seats that rose like mountains toward the distant ceiling. Some were tall and thin, with skin like bark. Others floated in tanks of strange liquids. A few existed only as patterns of energy, flickering like flames. They were ancient. The youngest civilization here was 3 million years old. Humanity had existed for less than 300,000 years. They had discovered space travel only 400 years ago. To the Coalition, humans were children. Dangerous children. Speaker Vorath raised his forearms for silence. He was a creature of blue scales and golden eyes, the elected voice of the Coalition. His species had guided galactic law for 60 million years. He looked down at the human with something close to pity. "Ambassador Harris," Vorath said, his voice echoing through translation devices, "you stand before this assembly to hear our judgment. Humanity has been a provisional member of this coalition for 50 years. In that time, your species has caused more disruption than any species in recorded history." Jake said nothing. He simply listened. Vorath continued, "You have destabilized our markets with your reckless innovation. You have formed bonds with lesser species that we placed under protection. You have conducted dangerous experiments that threaten the fabric of space itself. And perhaps worst of all, you have spread your ideas of independence and changed to civilizations that were content before you arrived." In the upper seats, Jake could see representatives nodding. The tall tree-like beings of the verdant worlds. The hive mind clusters of the Nexus Collective. The ancient energy beings of the First Light. All of them looked at him with the same expression: disappointment. As if he were a pet that had bitten its owner. Jake had seen that look many times. He had learned what it meant. "The vote has been called," Vorath announced. "All in favor of permanent expulsion of humanity from the Galactic Coalition. Signal now." Lights began to appear across the hall. Green for yes. Red for no. The green spread like a wave, washing over the assembly. Jake counted silently. 1,000. 2,000. 3,000. When the count ended, 3,847 species had voted yes. Only 153 had voted no, most of them the lesser species that humanity had befriended. Vorath nodded slowly. "The motion passes. Humanity is hereby banned from all coalition affairs. Your trade routes are closed. Your colonies in coalition space must be abandoned within 1 standard year. Your ships will be escorted to your home system, where you will remain. Any human found outside the Sol system after this period will be arrested and imprisoned. This judgment is final." The hall waited. Many expected the human to cry. Others expected anger, perhaps threats of war. Humans were known for their emotions. After all, they were so young, so dramatic. Jake Harris did something no one expected. He smiled. It was not a sad smile, or a bitter smile. It was the smile of a man who had just heard exactly what he wanted to hear. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small communication device. He pressed a single button and spoke 5 words. "It's a yes. Start the clock." Then he put the device away, straightened his coat, and bowed deeply to the assembly. It was a perfect bow, full of respect and grace. When he rose, his eyes swept across the thousands of alien faces watching him. "Thank you," he said, his voice clear and calm. "On behalf of humanity, I accept your judgment. We will comply with all terms. We will leave your space. We will not return unless invited." Vorath blinked his golden eyes. This was not the reaction he had prepared for. You accept? Without protest? Why would I protest? Jake asked. You have made your decision. We respect it. Democracy is beautiful, even when it works against you. He smiled again. Besides, Speaker Vorath, you have given us exactly what we needed. What you needed? Jake did not answer. He simply bowed once more, turned, and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the silent hall. 4,000 species watched a single human walk away from the greatest alliance in galactic history, and none of them could understand why he was not afraid. In the observation deck above the hall, 2 humans waited for him. Emma Cole was a small woman with sharp eyes and silver-streaked hair. She was Earth's chief science advisor, a physicist who had won more awards than she could remember. Beside her stood General Mike Torres, a large man with a scarred face and steady hands. He had commanded Earth's defense forces for 20 years. When Jake reached them, Emma spoke first. How did they take it? They're confused, Jake said. They expected us to beg. Mike Torres grunted. Good. Confused enemies make mistakes. They're not our enemies, Jake said quietly. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But they were never our friends either. He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was waiting. His home. His people. Emma, how long until we're ready? Emma checked her tablet. The last transport left Colony 7 this morning. All human citizens are either back on Earth or in position. Project Exodus is complete. And the decoys? Running perfectly. The Coalition will think our colonies are fully populated for at least 6 months. Mike Torres smiled. It was not a kind smile. They thought they were punishing us. They don't understand what they just did. Jake nodded. For 50 years, humanity had played the role of the eager newcomer. They had bowed and smiled and asked permission. They had let the Coalition believe that humans needed them. It was all a lie. A careful, patient, necessary lie. Because Emma had discovered the truth 2 years ago. The Coalition did not welcome new species. It consumed them. Every innovative civilization in galactic history had eventually been banned, isolated, and then quietly absorbed or destroyed. The pattern was clear. Humanity was next. So they prepared. In secret. In silence. In shadows. Now the trap had sprung, but not around humanity. Around the Coalition itself. Jake Harris looked at his friends and spoke the words they had waited 50 years to hear. It's time to go home. We have a galaxy to save. Just not this one. The news reached Earth at 3:47 a.m., Greenwich Mean Time. Within minutes, every screen on the planet carried the same message. Humanity had been banned from the Galactic Coalition. They were alone. Cut off. Exiled to their own solar system forever. The Coalition expected panic. They expected riots in the streets. Governments falling. Economies crashing. They had seen it happen before. To other species who had been cast out, isolation was a death sentence. Everyone knew this. But on Earth, something strange happened. People came out of their homes. They gathered in parks and squares and rooftops. They looked up at the stars, and they began to cheer. In New York, fireworks exploded over the Hudson River. In Tokyo, crowds sang songs of freedom. In Cairo, children danced in the streets, while their parents laughed and cried at the same time. It was not the reaction of a defeated people. It was the reaction of prisoners who had finally been released. President Ben Wright addressed the world from the United Nations building. He was a tall man with kind eyes and a voice that made people trust him. He had carried a terrible secret for 2 years, and now he could finally speak. My fellow humans, he said. Today the galaxy has set us free. They believe they have punished us. They believe we will wither and die without their guidance. They are wrong. He paused, letting the words settle. For 2 years, we have known this day would come. Our scientists discovered a pattern in galactic history. Every species that showed too much promise, too much creativity, too much independence, was eventually banned and then destroyed. The Coalition is not an alliance. It is a predator that moves slowly, so slowly that its prey never sees the teeth until it is too late. Across the planet, people listened in silence. We did not wait for the teeth, Ben continued. We prepared. Project Exodus has relocated our people, our resources, and our future to places the Coalition cannot reach. The colonies they think we are abandoning, they have been empty for months. The technology they think they understand, we have hidden our true capabilities for decades. They think they know humanity. They know nothing. The cheering grew louder. Today, we do not mourn. Today, we begin. Today, humanity walks into the unknown, not as victims, but as pioneers. The galaxy has closed its doors to us. So we will find new doors. We will build new doors. And one day, when the galaxy needs us, we will decide whether to open them. 3 days later, the Coalition enforcement fleet arrived at the edge of human space. Admiral Crix commanded the fleet from his massive warship, a vessel 3 kilometers long and older than human civilization. He had been chosen for this mission because he was patient. Humans were emotional creatures. They would resist. They would fight. And then they would lose, as all young species eventually did. What he found made no sense. Instead of scattered ships trying to flee, he saw the entire human fleet waiting for him. 300 vessels, arranged in perfect formation. They were not running. They were not attacking. They were simply there, floating in the darkness like a wall of steel and light. Captain Lily Park stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance. She was 40 years old, small in body but vast in spirit. She had commanded ships since she was 25. She had never lost a battle. Today, she did not plan to fight one. Admiral Crix is hailing us, her communications officer reported. Put him through. The alien's face appeared on screen. He had gray skin, black eyes, and a mouth full of teeth, designed for tearing meat. His species had been warriors once, before the Coalition taught them to be bureaucrats. Captain Park, Crix said. You are ordered to stand down and allow inspection of your vessels. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. You have 1 hour to comply. Lily smiled. It was the same smile Jake Harris had worn in the assembly hall. Admiral Crix, I have a message for you. For the entire Coalition, actually. Would you like to hear it? Crix narrowed his eyes. Speak. Lily stood straighter. Behind her, her crew watched with pride. They knew what was coming. They had waited their whole lives for this moment. We were never your guests, Lily said, her voice carrying the weight of all humanity. We were just passing through. We smiled at your insults. We bowed at your arrogance. We played the role of the eager student because it suited our purposes, but we were never fooled. We saw what you did to the others, the species you called failed experiments, the civilizations you erased from history because they threatened your control. Crix's face changed. For the first time in his long life, he felt something close to fear. We found their records, Lily continued. We found their warnings, hidden in places you forgot to check. And we found their survivors, Admiral. The ones who escaped your quiet genocide. They told us everything. The human fleet began to glow. A strange energy surrounded each ship. A technology Crix had never seen before. You banned us because we were dangerous. You were right. But you made one mistake. You assumed we needed you. We never did. We needed time. And you gave us 50 years of it. What are you doing? Crix demanded. His sensors were going crazy. The energy readings were impossible. We're leaving, Lily said simply. Not to our solar system. Not to anywhere you can follow. We developed something new, Admiral. Quantum fold drives. We can travel anywhere in the universe instantly, and we're taking everyone who wants to come with us. Behind the human fleet, space itself began to tear open. Portals of pure light appeared, dozens of them, each one a doorway to somewhere far beyond Coalition reach. Tell your masters this, Lily said. We do not forgive. We do not forget. But we also do not seek revenge. We're better than that. We're going to build something new, something beautiful, something free. And one day, when your coalition crumbles under its own weight, we'll be waiting, not to conquer you, to offer you a choice. The same choice you never gave us. She leaned forward, her eyes burning with quiet fire. Goodbye, Admiral. Thank you for teaching us who we truly are. The human fleet moved. One by one, the ships flew into the portals of light and vanished. The Defiance went last. As it crossed the threshold, Lily Park looked back at the stunned Coalition fleet one final time. Then, she was gone. All of humanity was gone. Admiral Crix floated alone in empty space, surrounded by 300 warships with nothing to fight. He stared at the place where the humans had been. The portals had closed. There was no trace of where they had gone. For the first time in 60 million years, the Galactic Coalition had lost something it could not find again. And somewhere in the unknown reaches of the universe, humanity smiled. 15 years of nothing. 15 years of empty space where humanity used to be. 15 years of silence that grew louder every day. The Galactic Coalition had expected many things when they banned Earth. They expected distress signals from dying colonies. They expected desperate attempts at contact. They expected humanity to crawl back, broken and humble, begging for forgiveness. Instead, there was only silence. Anna Reed stood on the observation deck of her ship, staring at the abandoned human colony below. The planet had been called New Houston. Once, 50,000 humans had lived there, building homes and schools and dreams. Now it was empty. A ghost world orbiting a yellow star. Anna was 28 years old, an intelligence officer for the Coalition. She had brown hair, sharp features, and eyes that noticed everything. She also had a secret that would get her killed if anyone discovered it. Her mother had been human. Her father was a Coalition diplomat who had fallen in love with a human scientist during the 50 years of contact. Anna had been born in secret, raised in secret, and trained to hide her human blood behind a mask of Coalition loyalty. She had never met another human in her life. Now she was hunting for them. Officer Reed, her assistant, called from behind her. The scan is complete. The colony is completely abandoned. No life signs. No technology. No records. Like everyone just vanished. Anna nodded. This was the 7th human colony she had investigated. All of them were the same. Empty buildings. Silent streets. No clues. But there was something different about New Houston. She could feel it. I'm going down to the surface, she said. Alone. Her assistant, a nervous creature with too many eyes, protested. That violates protocol. Human colonies could be trapped. Trapped with what? They're gone. Anna grabbed her equipment and headed for the shuttle. I'll be back in 2 hours. The colony streets were covered in dust. 15 years of wind had erased most traces of the people who lived here. But the buildings still stood, strong and solid, built to last for centuries. Humans always built things to last. It was one of the many things about them that confused the Coalition. Anna walked through what had once been a school. Small chairs sat in neat rows. Drawings hung on the walls, faded by time. One showed a family holding hands under a yellow sun. Another showed a spaceship flying toward distant stars. The children who made these drawings were grown now, somewhere far away. She found the message in the library. It was carved into the wall behind a bookshelf, hidden from casual view. Someone had taken time to make it permanent, cutting each letter deep into the stone. Anna read it slowly, her heart beating faster with each word. To whoever finds this, we knew you would come looking. We knew you would wonder where we went. The answer is simple. We went where you cannot follow. Not because we hate you, but because we finally understand you. The Coalition does not welcome new species. It consumes them. We found the records of the others, the Silken Minds, the Dreamweavers, the Children of Light, all banned, all destroyed. We will not be next. If you are reading this, and you have doubts about your masters, know that you are not alone. There are others who escaped. Find them if you can. Join them if you dare. And remember this, We will be ready when you are not. Anna stared at the message for a long time. Then she pulled out her scanner and photographed it. Evidence. Proof that humanity had not simply run away. They had escaped from something, from the coalition itself. Over the next 6 months, Anna found more messages. Some were carved in stone. Others were hidden in data files, encrypted with codes that only human-trained minds could break. Each message told the same story. The coalition was not what it claimed to be. Every innovative species in galactic history had been eliminated. The protections offered to lesser species were just chains with softer names, and humanity had found the survivors. Not all the banned species had died. Some had escaped, hiding in the unknown regions beyond coalition space. Humanity had found them, united with them, built something new with them. Anna sat in her quarters one night, reading a message she had found on the 8th colony. It described something called the Free Worlds Compact, an alliance of escaped civilizations working together in secret. It described technology that made coalition science look like children's toys. It described hope. Her door chimed. Her assistant's voice came through the speaker. Officer Reed, Coalition Command is requesting your report. They want to know what you found. Anna looked at her evidence. Photographs of messages. Data files full of truth. Everything the coalition needed to find humanity and destroy them. She thought about her mother, a woman she had never met, who had loved her enough to hide her. She thought about the children's drawings in the school. She thought about the words carved in stone. We will be ready when you are not. Officer Reed? Anna picked up her scanner and deleted everything. Every photograph. Every file. Every trace of truth. Tell Command I found nothing, she said. The colonies are empty. No evidence of where they went. Recommend we close the investigation and focus resources elsewhere. There was a pause. Are you certain, Officer Reed? Command will not be pleased. I'm certain, Anna said. Humanity is gone. There's nothing left to find. She ended the communication and sat alone in the darkness. She had just committed treason. She had just saved a species she had never met. She had just chosen which side of history she wanted to stand on. Meanwhile, in coalition space, things were falling apart. Without human innovation pushing them forward, the ancient civilizations had grown stagnant. The lesser species, inspired by humanity's defiant exit, were growing restless. Rebellions sparked on a dozen worlds. Trade routes collapsed. The coalition that had stood for billions of years was beginning to crack. Speaker Vorath looked out at the chaos from his chamber on Orbis Prime. He remembered the human ambassador, Jake Harris, and his strange smile. He remembered the words that had haunted him for 15 years. You have given us exactly what we needed. He finally understood what those words meant. The coalition had not banned humanity. They had released them. And somewhere in the unknown universe, the humans were building something that would change everything. Vorath was afraid. For the first time in his very long life, he was truly afraid. The silence was not empty. It was full of patience. The void swarm came from beyond the galaxy. No one knew what they were or where they originated. They were not a species in any normal sense. They were a force of nature, a wave of destruction that consumed everything in its path. They appeared first on the outer edge of coalition space, emerging from the darkness between galaxies like a plague of shadows. Their ships were made of living metal that healed itself faster than weapons could damage it. Their soldiers were nightmares given form, creatures that existed only to feed and multiply. Within 3 months, they had consumed 6 star systems. Within a year, they had taken 40 more. The coalition fleets, once proud and ancient, fell like leaves in a storm. Speaker Vorath stood in the ruined assembly hall on Orbis Prime. The ceiling had collapsed during the last attack. Half the representatives were dead or missing. The survivors looked at him with desperate eyes, waiting for salvation that he could not provide. Our weapons do nothing, Admiral Crix reported, his voice broken. He had aged terribly in the 25 years since the humans vanished. The memory of that day still haunted him. The swarm adapts to everything we throw at them. Our shields, our missiles, our energy beams. They learn, and they overcome. We are losing this war, Speaker. We are losing it badly. Vorath closed his golden eyes. Pride had sustained his species for 60 million years. Today, he had to swallow that pride, or watch everything die. Send a message, he said quietly. Send it into the unknown regions. Send it everywhere. On every frequency. Address it to humanity. The hall fell silent. For 25 years, the name of humanity had been forbidden. They were the species that escaped. The embarrassment the coalition wanted to forget. Tell them we need help, Vorath continued. Tell them we are sorry. Tell them we were wrong. The message went out across the stars, echoing into the vast unknown. For 3 days, there was no response. The void swarm continued its advance. More worlds fell. More species died. Then, on the 4th day, space itself opened. The portals appeared without warning, dozens of them, blazing with golden light. From each portal came ships. Not just human ships, ships of designs no one had ever seen, built by species the coalition had erased from history. The Silken Minds, beings of pure thought who flew ships made of crystallized mathematics. The Dreamweavers, creatures who existed in multiple dimensions at once. The Children of Light, energy beings even more ancient than the first light. And at the center of them all, the human fleet, 3,000 ships strong, led by a vessel called the New Dawn. Admiral Lily Park stood on the bridge of her flagship. She was 65 now. Her hair white. Her face lined with age and wisdom. But her eyes were the same. Sharp. Determined. Unafraid. She had spent 25 years building the Free World's compact into something magnificent. Now, it was time to use it. Open a channel to the coalition forces, she ordered. Let them know we're here. Her face appeared on every screen in coalition space. The survivors stared at her in shock. She was a legend now, the woman who had told the coalition goodbye and meant it. This is Admiral Lily Park of the Free World's compact, she said. We received your message. We have come to help. But first, we need to talk. 1 hour later, a shuttle landed on Orbis Prime. Jake Harris walked out, leaning on a cane. He was 87 years old. His hair completely white. His body frail, but his mind was as sharp as ever, and his smile had not changed. Beside him walked Emma Cole, now 90, still brilliant, still unstoppable. Behind them came representatives of the 12 species that made up the Free World's compact. All of them had been banned once. All of them had survived. Speaker Vorath met them in the ruined assembly hall. He looked at Jake Harris and remembered the last time they had stood in this place. You came back, Vorath said. After everything we did to you. We came back, Jake agreed. But not for you. Not exactly. He looked around at the destruction. The fear. The desperation. We came back because no one deserves what the swarm will do. Not even you. Then help us, please. Jake shook his head slowly. We will help you. But there are conditions. General Mike Torres stepped forward. He was 80 now, but he still looked like he could break a man in half with his bare hands. The coalition as you know it ends today. No more ruling council. No more lesser species. No more quiet destruction of anyone who thinks differently. Emma Cole activated a holographic display. Documents and evidence filled the air. We have records of everything. Every species you banned. Every civilization you destroyed. Every crime committed in the name of galactic unity. This becomes public. Everyone learns the truth. Vorath's face fell. You would expose us? During a war? We would free you, Jake said gently. You have been prisoners of your own system for so long that you don't even recognize the chains. The swarm is terrible. Yes, but the real disease was already here. Eating your civilization from the inside. We're offering you a cure. End quote. And if we refuse? Mike Torres spoke, his voice hard. You banned us Because we were dangerous. You were right. Now decide if you want us dangerous as your enemies or dangerous as your friends. You have 1 hour. The coalition leaders gathered in a side chamber to debate. But there was nothing to debate. Really. The Void Swarm was at their doorstep. The Free Worlds Compact had technology 200 years ahead of anything they possessed. They could fight and die with pride, or they could accept help and live with humility. After 30 minutes, Voreth returned. We accept your terms, he said. All of them. Help us survive. And we will become whatever you need us to become. Jake Harris nodded. Then, he did something unexpected. He reached out and took Voreth's hand. The speaker's scales were cold against his human skin. We're not here to conquer you, Jake said. We're here to show you another way. The galaxy doesn't have to be about dominance and control. It can be about cooperation and growth. That's what we learned in exile. That's what we want to share. Voreth looked at the ancient human, this fragile creature who had somehow outmaneuvered an empire billions of years old. Why? Voreth asked. After everything we did, why would you help us? Jake smiled that famous smile. Because revenge is easy. Building something better is hard. We've always preferred hard. Outside, the combined fleet of the Free Worlds Compact turned to face the Void Swarm. Lily Park gave the order to advance. The battle for the galaxy had begun. But for the first time in a very long time, the galaxy had hope. The war lasted 3 years. It was the most terrible conflict the galaxy had ever seen. Stars died. Worlds burned. Billions of lives were lost. But in the end, the Void Swarm was defeated. The combined forces of the Free Worlds Compact and the Coalition remnants pushed them back beyond the edge of the galaxy and sealed the void behind them. Victory came at a great cost. Jake Harris did not live to see it. He died peacefully in his sleep 6 months before the war ended. Surrounded by friends and family, his last words were simple. Don't forget to be kind. General Mike Torres fell in battle, defending a refugee convoy from a swarm ambush. He saved 30,000 lives that day. The Coalition admiral who had once hunted humanity delivered his eulogy, but the war was won. And now, 5 years later, the galaxy was learning how to live again. Anna Reed walked through the halls of the new Galactic Forum on Orbis Prime. The station had been rebuilt, transformed from a monument to power into a symbol of cooperation. Representatives from thousands of species filled its corridors, and for the first time in history, none of them were called lesser. Anna was 48 now, and her secret was no longer a secret. She had revealed her human heritage during the war, and instead of punishment, she had found acceptance. Now she served as a chief mediator for the Forum, helping species that had feared each other for millions of years learn to work together. Today was special. It was the 30th anniversary of humanity's ban, and a memorial ceremony was being held in the old assembly hall. The hall had been converted into a museum. Displays showed the history of the Coalition's crimes and the story of humanity's exile. Videos played the famous speech where Lily Park told the Coalition goodbye. Children of a dozen species gathered around exhibits, learning about a past their parents had tried to forget. At the center of the hall stood a statue. It showed a human man in a formal suit, caught in the middle of a bow. His face wore a slight smile, his eyes calm and knowing. The plaque at the base read, Jake Harris, Ambassador of Earth. He smiled when they expected tears. He walked away when they expected war. He came back when they expected nothing. Anna stood before the statue as the hall filled with guests. Emma Cole sat in the front row, 95 years old and still sharp. Beside her sat a young alien scientist named Vera, one of the Children of Light, who had become Emma's student and protege. The future of galactic science sat next to its past, learning from each other. Admiral Lily Park took the stage. She was 70 now, retired from military service, but she still carried herself like a commander. The room fell silent when she raised her hand. 30 years ago, she began, her voice strong and clear. The Galactic Coalition voted to ban humanity. They called us dangerous. They called us disruptive. They called us a threat to the galactic order. They were not wrong. Soft laughter rippled through the crowd. We were dangerous. We are still dangerous, but not in the way they feared. We were dangerous because we asked questions. We were dangerous because we made friends with the wrong species. We were dangerous because we looked at a billion-year-old system and said, "This could be better." She paused, looking out at the thousands of faces watching her. Human faces, alien faces, faces that would have been enemies a generation ago, now sitting side by side. The ban was meant to destroy us. Instead, it saved us. It forced us to leave everything we knew and venture into the unknown. It forced us to find the other exiles, the other survivors, the other dreamers who refused to fit into someone else's idea of order. Together, we built something new, something better. She gestured at the hall, at the forum, at the new galaxy being born around them. This is not a human victory. This is not even a free world's victory. This is what happens when species choose cooperation over dominance. When they choose building over destroying. When they choose to see differences as strengths rather than threats. Emma Cole nodded slowly, tears in her ancient eyes. Beside her, Vera held her hand. Jake Harris taught me something, Lily continued. He said that the real test of a civilization is not how it treats its friends, it's how it treats its enemies. The Coalition failed that test for billions of years. We have a chance to do better. We have a chance to prove that the galaxy can be a place of hope instead of fear. She looked at the statue of her old friend, the man who had smiled when the galaxy turned against him. They banned us because we were dangerous. But we were never the danger they feared. We were the cure for a disease they didn't know they had. And now, together, we can build a future worth inheriting. The applause lasted for 10 minutes. When it finally faded, the ceremony continued with speakers from every species represented. Former enemies apologized for ancient crimes. Former victims offered forgiveness. It was messy and emotional and imperfect, exactly like the galaxy itself. After the ceremony, Anna found Emma Cole in the museum, standing before a display about the banned species. Vera had gone to explore, and Emma was alone, lost in memories. "How do you feel?" Anna asked. Emma smiled. Old, tired, happy. She looked at the young mediator. Jake would have loved this. All these species talking to each other, arguing with each other, figuring things out together. It's chaotic and slow and frustrating. It's perfect. Do you think it will last? Emma considered the question. Nothing lasts forever. But that's not the point. The point is what we do with the time we have. We could have used our technology to conquer. We could have taken revenge for the ban. Instead, we chose to build something worth protecting. Even if it falls apart someday, it still mattered. The trying still mattered. She patted Anna's hand with her wrinkled fingers. You know what the best part is? The future won't be human-led. It will be shared. Vera and the others will take what we started and make it their own. They'll improve on it. They'll surprise us. That's how it should be. That's how it was always supposed to be. Later that night, as the celebration continued, a small ship arrived at the forum's docking station. Inside were representatives of a species no one had ever encountered. They were small and nervous, with wide eyes and trembling hands. They had traveled for years to reach this place, following rumors of a galaxy that welcomed strangers. Anna Reed met them at the airlock. She smiled warmly and extended her hand in greeting. Welcome to the Galactic Forum, she said. Tell us your story. We're listening. The small creatures looked at each other, then at the human-blooded woman with kind eyes. One of them stepped forward and began to speak, hesitantly at first, then with growing confidence. Anna listened. Around her, the forum hummed with life. Thousands of species working together, arguing together, dreaming together. It was not perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was alive, and growing, and full of possibility. Somewhere in the memorial hall, the statue of Jake Harris smiled, its eternal smile. The galaxy had banned humanity once. Now the galaxy was learning to smile back. The story was not over. Stories never really end. But this chapter, at least, closed with hope. And that was enough. That was always enough.